Good evening and welcome to everyone, including those via Facebook and YouTube Live. Thanks for joining us. I am Nicola Carrara. This is Family Time. Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. So stay with us and please join in via all our platforms, Facebook and YouTube, which are live, and via Instagram. Our discussion today is asking the question, why we worship, where we worship. Why do you go to church? You go to. Why do you go to the church you go to? Habit, convenience, your diet, your beliefs, the pastor, just because you grew up there. Don't know? They say Jamaica has the most churches per capita, so you pretty much can go anywhere you want. So why attend the church? What that you do? What do you take into consideration when deciding on where to go to worship? Since you're thinking about that, let's do this. Tell us why you worship, where you worship. Send your responses via WhatsApp text and voice notes. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125 or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. You can also watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be right back with our special guest, David Pearson. Don't go anywhere.
Get ready for Woman Ignite Success Summit 2023. 2 days of intense worship and conversations about building kingdom wealth, business, marriage, finding purpose, and more. Featuring co-pastor of Forward City Church, South Carolina, Dr. Jackie Green, Dr. Joan Wright Good, Evangelist Althea Stollard, and much more. Woman Ignite Success Summit, January 27 to 28, AC Hotel Kingston. Get your tickets at womanigniteja.com. Powered by Always, Sagicor One Group, and other partners.
Now more than ever, Protex reminds you to wash your hands. A 40-second hand wash with soap could help prevent COVID-19. Look for Protex at your nearest store.
Wayne, you know Flo Yardan Road now faster than ever?
Yeah, my brethren just get it.
Him love it, don't?
Especially the 200 megabit speed and getting a Samsung tablet or phone for $999 plus GCT. You know he got the phone?
So, you coming home now?
Right after I pass the board.
There's never been a better time to get the invaluable value of Flow Yarden Road. Sign up and get fiber fast internet at home, unlimited social, YouTube, talk and text for just $4,999 plus GCT. And save big on a Samsung phone or a tablet. Conditions apply.
Precious moments we share with you, everything's so right. Malta, you're full of life.
The time by Malta is...
It's 6 p.m. right here in Kingston, Jamaica. Welcome back to Family Time on Love 101 and welcome to David Pearson, our special guest this evening. David, how are you?
Well, I hope you're hearing me.
I'm hearing you loud and clear.
I'm
How are
doing
you
well.
doing, David? You're doing well.
I'm doing really well, yes.
Wonderful.
Give God thanks, yes.
We're so glad you're here with us. And David Pearson is an adjunct lecturer at Jamaica Theological Seminary, where he lectures in many subjects, including reading the Bible as literature, religious thoughts and systems, Christian education, and theology today. Now, remember, we want to hear from you, our audience. Tell us why you worship, where you worship. WhatsApp your text and voice notes. Make sure they're no longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125. Watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube. Or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. Time flies really fast on this program, so let's jump right in. So, David, please tell me the definition of worship. What is worship?
Wow. Worship, ascribing worth to someone or something greater than you. Let's put it that way. That's perhaps the easiest definition that I can come with. When we ascribe worth to someone or something greater than us, then we show that in how we speak of that person or thing, you know, um, and that's worship.
And that
Okay,
is worship.
in a very succinct way, that's worship. Now we have come to understand worship in the Christian space. I would say the last 20, 30 years as singing, dancing in the presence of God. But the truth is that we do that because we think that God is worth it. Okay, He deserves that kind of attention, adoration from us who are created and we benefit from Him.
Wow. Okay. Great. Great. Wonderful. I just want to back up here. I'm going ahead. I'm going ahead because I said it was 6 p.m. and it's not 6 p.m. Everyone, it's 5:36 p.m. I'm running ahead. Okay, so please excuse me, everyone. Please, very, very much excuse me. I don't know why I'm running half an hour ahead because we really want to get into this worship. So, David, what are the types of worship?
Well, again, it all depends on what Christian tradition you're from. Some people understand. I think in Jamaica, the most popular understanding of worship today is singing and praising, standing in the presence of God, praising, shouting, ascribing worth to God through singing and so on. But that's not the only type of worship. Historically speaking, the Christian tradition I'm from, which is what we call Christian brethren, their worship is more reflective, centered around the Lord's table, as they as think about the personal work of Christ on behalf of God's creation, God's people. And it's reflective and it's usually more silent or quieter, I should say. It's not really silent, and with a lot of scripture reading and singing, not necessarily in the expressive way that other churches do. While if you go to a Quaker tradition, worship is remaining totally silent in the presence of God until you get a revelation. Your spirit unites with Him. So you have different ways of worship.
So Quaker is different than Pentecostal, right?
Most definitely. Traditionally speaking, though. Traditionally speaking, yes.
Okay, wonderful. So you've been telling us about the different types of worship in the churches. But tell me now, before we even go deeper into that, what is defined as the Christian church?
What could you repeat that question?
What is defined as the Christian church? What makes up the Christian church?
Well, again, the Christian church is usually a group of believers who meet together around the teachings and requirements of Jesus Christ. We come together as believers, we reflect on Jesus' word, we try to live lives of obedience to that word, we support each other, through that process. That's what a Christian church is.
Yes.
So if we go to a kind of an understanding from the Acts of the Apostles, we see 4 or 5 features of the Christian church worship. We see instruction from the Bible. We see fellowship, believers coming together. We see evangelism, going out and sharing the word with others that they too might become a part of the family of God. And when we see what we call social concern, where believers then share what they have with each other and with anybody who's in need. We try to help people to make their lives better. So that's what we understand the Christian church as.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. So that's it in general. But are there different groupings that are not really denominations? We'll get into denominations later, but are there different groupings of Christian churches?
Well, that word denomination really means to name. Demos is to give a name. And
Right.
so what we have is that we have many church groups who don't claim to be a denomination, but they
Right.
go by a name. So in the strict understanding of the word denomination, then they would be a denomination. Okay.
Really?
In the strict understanding.
So
But
give me an
there's
example of that, please.
like the Christian Brethren, the
Okay.
church I go to, we don't or the Independent Baptists. Okay, strictly speaking, they're autonomous churches, but they fellowship together around some common ideals, and then they get a name. And once they get a name, then they are really like a denomination.
Right.
However, the big difference is that they have no central authority.
Okay.
Okay, there's no bishop who is in charge of all of the church, all the
Right.
churches. They are local independent congregations, as opposed to denominations which usually have a head, someone who's the whatever the title you give to the head. In the Roman Catholic Church is a pope, but in the
Right.
Protestant Church, what we talk about, some places bishops or archbishops or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Wow. Okay. So no, that's interesting because basically what I hear you saying is that there are churches that are named because of their similarities. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so then those churches are not considered denominations. Or they, or you said because they have a name, they actually are denominations.
I'm saying actually they ought to be called denomination
They
because
ought
they
to
have a
be
name. But
Right.
in the way we usually understand it, they are not, because they might not have a central authority. They don't have a
Right.
governing body. You know, the Brethren churches, the Independent Baptist churches, and so on. They don't have a central authority like a church office that governs all the churches in the association. They don't have a bishop who sits over all the churches. They don't answer to any common agenda like
Okay.
that, apart from the scriptures.
So then what churches are considered denominations then?
Like Moravians, like like New Testament Church of God, like Church of God of Prophecy, you know, churches like that, you know. They usually have a central authority.
Right. That's so interesting. And so those are the ones now that they worship basically the same way. They have maybe a bishop and they have someone who you say they have central authority.
Right.
So I'm going to ask this now. Is this better? Which one do you think is better?
Aye.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
No, there are pros and cons to both.
Right.
The what we call the more independent churches, autonomous churches, in theory, they have a freedom to do whatever they want to do. Okay?
Right.
And I'm not saying that in a bad way, right? You are not shackled by a central authority who's telling you that you can't go in this direction. Okay? But usually a big downside is that there is strength in numbers. So if you have a denomination like the Seventh-day Adventists, for instance, or the New Testament Church of God, the fact that they have a central authority and they usually, in some way, some measure, they pool funds for particular projects, you can see how an organization like that can get a whole lot more done than a single independent church.
Right.
There are pros and cons. Training of ministers or personnel in a denominational setting sometimes is a little bit easier than in an independent autonomous setting.
Right, and I know some they don't worship on Sunday, but some worship on like a Saturday.
Right.
So we have different ones. Okay, wonderful. So right now we are coming up with a break because we want to get into this break because we want to come right back. So I just want you to remember to tell us why you worship, where you worship. We're looking forward to your stories. WhatsApp, text, and voice notes. No longer than 30 seconds to 876-997-3125. Watch us and comment live on Love 101 Facebook and YouTube. or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Mr. Pearson would be happy to respond to any of your queries. And just so you know, the numbers for the FLM head office in Kingston are 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Don't go anywhere because right now it's time for words of encouragement from Pastor Clover.
Why do you go to the church you go to? Well, some people go to the church they attend just because they grew up there. Some because of convenience, and for others, it's just an habit, or because they like the pastor. For many, the church's doctrine or belief is critical in their decision of where they worship. And then there are those people who just don't know the reason they attend the church they go to. Now, many people go to church for all of the above, but choosing where we worship should be a whole lot more than that. First of all, it's important to pray and ask the Lord where He wants you and your family to worship. And when you find that church, see it as a gift, because the truth is, it's miserable to attend the wrong church. If that's not where the Lord wants you, there will be no grace for you. And when that happens, instead of being a blessing, you become an hindrance. So with all of the above in mind, when you find the right church, that is the place where Christ placed you. Don't let it be about your preferences or desires. Know that you're placed there to serve Christ and others. According to Tom Rainer, church membership doesn't simply have privileges. It is a privilege, and I could not agree more. When you find the right church, you find a place to call home.
Love 101 invites you to listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessing of salvation is not only to forgive you all of your sins here and now, but to keep you safe for all of eternity.
Dr. Michael Youssef.
God's blessings for your salvation will keep you protected, and it's going to keep you protected even from your own foolish decisions. He will keep you protected even if you are prone to wander away from Him. Will keep you protected from your ingratitude to His grace and blessing. He will keep you protected from being preoccupied with His blessings and ignoring Him. Even when you're focusing on the wrong things, His security for you is indisputable.
Want to learn more about this subject? Listen to Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef on this station.
That's Leading the Way with Dr. Michael Youssef, Sunday to Thursday at 7:30 to 8 p.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back, everyone. I am so happy you're here. So we are asking the question, why we worship and where we worship. And, I want to tell my story. David, I don't know if you know that I go to Swallowfield Chapel too. I am a brethren. you're my brother.
Praise God. Well, I don't go to Swallowfield Chapel anymore. I'm still a Swallow. I'm past that Mona Heights Chapel now.
Once a swallow, always a swallow. Yes, I know. I knew you moved. Once a swallow, always a swallow. Right. So, the reason why I went to Swallowfield Chapel is because I was moving back to Jamaica. And someone at a brethren church, no, you might want to get into this because there are different types of brethren churches. Because at that brethren church, they were more closed, so women could not do anything except, like, I guess, preach to children or teach children. They couldn't preach at all. but they could do it with women or with children. And so, of course, I was coming from a totally different background. And I went to the pastor and I said, but why? Why? For 1.5 hours we spoke. And I asked him, why did you have to have this? You can't have a woman like speaking to men. I don't understand. What about Deborah? And he said, well, that is an exception. I'm like, you need to think about the exceptions, But we had a good conversation. And then when I was moving back, the deacon at the church at that time, who now is the pastor of that church, he said, I think Swallowfield Chapel would be good for you when you go back to Jamaica, because Swallowfield is a bit more open, than the regular churches. And
Right.
so it's very, very important that we recognize that even within what should be considered denominations or our denominations, that there are different types of churches.
Most
What
definitely.
do you say about that, David?
What do I say about that, you said?
Yes.
Well,
What would you
let-
say about
let
because
me-
they were different.
Well, let me relate what you said to this discussion as to why people go to the church that they go to.
Right.
There are a couple of things that you said that people could latch on to as reasons why you go. One of the reasons some will say is the beliefs of the church. We go because of the teachings of the church. And in this case, you go to Swallowfield Chapel because you felt that there were some teachings and practices that you were more comfortable with. Okay.
Uh-huh.
However, others say it's not really the teaching as much as how you feel. Okay, you go to a church that makes you feel good, that you feel like you feel accepted. And so you have some people who are in churches and they remain in those churches even though they don't agree with some of the fundamental things that the church teaches. But they have family, they have friends, they have
Right.
connection, have a sense of fellowship there. Okay. So yes, those things are real. And Pastor Clover earlier in the little encouragement that she gave some other reasons. People go to church for convenience. People go to church because we've always done it. I grew up in this church. But I am telling you, the moment people start to feel uncomfortable in a church, that's when they're going to start to look to leave.
Yes, that is true. And so in Jamaica, we have so many churches, so it makes it so much easier because I look at churches, I work with a lot of missionaries in persecuted churches, and they don't have that choice.
That's most
You know?
definitely. And even in a place like Saudi Arabia, if you were to go to Saudi Arabia today, the Saudi government has allowed Christianity to exist and to meet in churches, right? Or meet at church. But it's one church for all Christians. Wherever you come from in the world, okay, whatever Christian denomination you're associated with, when you are in a place like Saudi Arabia, they allow you one church. And so you go to this place and you find Roman Catholics, Pentecostals, Brethren, even Jehovah's Witnesses, who Christians don't normally
Right.
consider to be Christians. This is the only place they are allowed to worship. So sometimes we in the Western world, we have a kind of a misconception of the choices that people have in some places in the world because we judge people based on our own experiences. And we can just get up and go to the next church if we want. Not so in some places.
Yes, especially in Jamaica, which is,
Right.
they say we have the most churches per capita, and I don't know if that is necessarily a good thing
Yeah.
because we're not persevering through what is going on. Because I'm sorry, but some people will say, the church is a problem to go to another church. The church is a problem to go to another church. And then they don't recognize that they might be the problem. And so they're not working on themselves.
I'm not certain the statement is true that Jamaica has the most churches per square mile.
No, that's changed now.
No, it was never ever official. It was claimed that was in the Guinness Book of World Records, but it's not true.
But it's not true.
No, it's not in the
Oh,
Guinness Book of World.
thanks
It
for
is not.
letting me know because I've been telling everyone.
Yes, everybody say it's not true that it's in the Guinness Book of World Records unless it has been recently put there. I've heard the same thing said in St. Vincent. Okay,
Really?
yeah, and you have other places that claim it, because you have some places with a high density of churches, among
Right.
them. And Jamaica definitely does have a very high density of churches. And I tend to agree with you. It's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps for a little different reason from what you stated. Maybe related, but what it does tell us is that the Protestant church, which we are a part of, most of us are in Jamaica are part of the Protestant church, we have inherited a tradition of protest from 1517, and Martin Luther divided from the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
And I read somewhere once, I'm paraphrasing, and I've been trying to find it ever since, and I can't find it, where Martin Luther became a little bit disappointed with the results of the Reformation, because one of the things which he never meant to happen began to happen is that the church started to splinter. And one person I read said, Martin Luther said, to paraphrase in Jamaican parlance, a man eat a stale bowl of stew peas before him go to him bed and get a nightmare. And next morning wake up and say get a vision and start a church. Okay?
Wow.
So that it has, in our world, people have started churches for all kinds of strange reasons. And that only served to divide the body. What it very often suggests is that some people are not patient in terms of staying under the headship of an authority, and they want their own. So sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes that way. And then what we have is that, which is one of my pet peeves, and I'm going to be flogged for this one, that many churches have pastors who are not qualified. And so
I'm going to help you. Amen. So both of us get flogged.
And so they kind of lead people astray.
Yes.
Okay, so there are some downsides to it, yeah.
Yes, because I'm even hearing of churches that they say that you can't go to anybody else's church. You have to stay at their churches. And I am quite concerned about that, especially if the doctrine may not be right.
Most definitely so, yeah.
That's so, I look at so many different things too, because we have had in recent months, is it years, a situation with cults in Jamaica. And so, it's difficult when you're saying to someone, oh, you really can't go to another church. And I would start thinking, maybe this is a cult-like situation.
Right.
So
yeah, well, again,
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. But even the issue of cults, what we don't have many, we don't have enough times of teaching in our churches to help people to recognize. I prefer to say counterfeits. The word cults is a very the word cults a very loaded word today. It gives kind of wrong impressions. But there have many churches that distort the teachings of the scripture, and we ought to be concerned about them. And if it is that you are a part of a congregation where you cannot ask for clarification, or you can voice disagreement with a particular teaching in the church, then it might be time for you to start thinking of going elsewhere.
Yes, I would think so. Because I was in a situation also where I encountered a cult. I was trying to find Jesus and I found all right, counterfeit. I'm going to use your word. That's a better word, counterfeit. And I remember them saying that a news magazine had said they were a cult, but they didn't really deny it. And then they were saying you had to baptize in a certain river, which was kind of dirty. And they were saying all these different things that you had to do, which I wasn't comfortable with. And they would ask me, well, what is your interpretation of the Bible? And then they would say, oh, well, no, this is it. And so they wanted to stay with whatever they were saying. But David, we're going to continue this conversation after, because we are coming up to a break. So I just want to remind everyone that we are speaking about why you worship, where you worship, why you worship. And it's such an interesting conversation. So I want you to tell us why you worship, where you worship. We're looking forward to your stories, WhatsApp, text, and voice notes, no longer than 30 seconds. Please to 876-997-3125. Watch us and comment live on Love 101, Facebook, and YouTube. Or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 or 876-968-8328 to participate. And I'm sure Mr. Pearson would be happy to respond to any of your queries. So please, please, please call in and or write in. And just so you know, the numbers for FLM head office in Kingston are 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. So we'll be back.
Hey! Get ready for an inspiring time inside Love in the Morning with me, your host, Jakal Dyer. This Tuesday, January 24 at 5:45 a.m., we give love shout-outs to some creatives and businesses that are leaving footprints in their respective fields. Grab your cup of coffee and start the day right with Morning Coffee Pick Me Up Devotional at 6 a.m. Then at 7 a.m., we bring you The Morning Watch with intriguing and thought-provoking discussions. 8:30 a.m. inside The Healthy Way, we discuss Down syndrome. Then at 9:35 a.m., the phone lines are open for A Voice for Hope, a time for listeners to call and share challenges faced and the help needed regarding light, water, and more in your community. Stick and stay with us. This Island Vibes Tuesday inside Love in the Morning, 5 to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
This alright, just sweet.
What is meant by sanctification and consecration? Did you think they were the same thing? Well, here's a hint. Consecration is not sanctification. Then what is it and what makes them different? Tuesday, January 24 on The Rock, join host Bishop Hero Steve Blair and guests Apostle O'Neill Richards and Pastor Luke Smith as they discuss the topic sanctification and consecration. That's The Rock, Tuesday, January 24 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
Now more than ever, Protex reminds you to wash your hands. A 40-second hand wash with soap could help prevent COVID-19. Look for Protex at your nearest store.
Welcome back, everyone. So I had told a story about being in a cult as we are, well, not being in a cult, actually getting connected with a cult, but did not stay there, And David says more counterfeit. And so I was just thinking about that during the break, and we were talking about also why we worship where we worship. And one of the things about this counterfeit church is that they were going to students who were in the first year in college, who were lonely, and they were basically recruiting them to be a part of their church. And then when they did that, they were telling them not to actually to call their parents, contact their parents, and parents were worried because they were saying, we're not hearing from our children, and they were calling the university and the colleges that they were at, and that caused a lot of distress. But they were feeling lonely, and that is one of the reasons why some people join churches, right, David?
Most definitely. I don't use the word cult anymore because it carries a connotation that is in the modern mind of these bloodthirsty, sacrificial kinds of things, satanic worship kinds of things.
Right. And they're more subtle.
Very often. And but to use the terminology of cult from which is more of an early to mid 20th century kind of terminology used for these groups, whether or not they were actually overtly satanic. Okay, the word cult. There was one writer who said that the cults are the unpaid bills of the church. And what he meant by that,
Okay, good. Yes, needed an explanation. Yes.
what he meant by that is that the cults, or in my terminology, the counterfeits, they tend to target areas where the church has messed up with people. And that's
Right.
what they focus on largely in recruiting you. Okay.
Right.
So as you mentioned, students feeling lonely, they provide this kind of love bombing session with them,
Yes. Yes.
and
Wow.
they help them in various ways and so on, and then you find that the attachment begins there, and then what they will do then is that they will subtly teach you what I say are counterfeit teachings, contrary to
Right.
the scriptures.
Right.
Very often these teachings are heretical, because not because they're outright wrong, but because they are truths taken to their logical extreme. Okay, so a teaching like, unless you forsake mother and father, what Jesus would say, which is a hyperbole used by Jesus to teach that your greatest allegiance must be to God and not to people, right? And they would take that and take it to its logical extreme and say, no, you must not contact your parents because you are forsaking them. So it is very often what it is a very subtle way of twisting the truth. And by the way, many of these people who are scripture twisting are sincere. They themselves are deceived, and then they are deceiving. That's what Paul says in Timothy, deceived and are deceiving. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that they knowingly have ulterior motives. Some of them do,
Right.
but some of them don't.
Right.
And they provide an environment for some people to feel safe, feel accepted, and then you get in, and then you suddenly find yourself locked into a system that you can't get out of easily.
Wow. So how do you actually find a good church then?
Well, that's a very good question. I'm a pastor now, and
Okay, Pastor.
we are, my church, Mona Heights Chapel, we are coming out of COVID.
Right.
8 months now out of COVID. We're seeing numbers coming back. But COVID affected many of our ministries very, very badly. Some things improved. Online, we had connection with people from all over the world that we haven't seen for a long while. So we got connection with them.
Right.
But in terms of some of the face-to-face ministries, we have struggled with getting them back on track, like Sunday school or youth meetings. I think many churches are suffering from seeing their young people not coming. But I'm saying all this to say, in choosing a church, I think you must consider a few factors, a few things, right?
Could 1 second, please, David, because we have a voice note. So because I really want to get into what you're
saying. Sure.
Go ahead. Voice note. Thank you.
Sure.
Good evening, Love FM. This is Molly. And I want you to know that I worship as a 7-day Adventist, and my reason for being a 7-day Adventist is because I examine the scriptures carefully and see where Jesus went to church, knowing that he never had to go to a particular church, but he did. He worshiped on a particular day. And in addition, he was baptized. A righteous person like Jesus doesn't need baptism, but he was baptized. And hence, I worship as I do. There are many other reasons, but I have made it short, I hope. Bye.
Bye, Molly. And thanks to Molly for that, because, wow, David, she said some interesting things, because Jesus did worship on
Jesus,
on a Saturday.
Jesus didn't have any other, there was no other congregation among the Jews. Everybody worshipped on the Sabbath for them. So it was like he had a choice. When he had a choice, he made that choice and he stopped worshiping with them. He went out. Okay? But that's a different discussion.
That is a different discussion.
Right.
Yes.
But she's right. There are some people who have in their minds they have sought the scriptures, searched the scriptures, and they have chosen a church that they think is more faithful to teachings in the
Yes.
Bible. Right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. And you were talking about the COVID situation at your church. Could you
Yeah, so I'm
go
saying,
back to that, please?
I'm going to say very quickly that I would suggest that when you're going to church, you must know what your needs are. If you have a family
Mm.
that you're going to take to church with you, I think you should be looking at things or what kind of ministries they offer for your family. Do they have a vibrant Sunday school? Do they have activities for your children? You know, what about the elderly people in your family? Are they cared for? Okay, are they biblical as best as
Right.
you can assess? You know, do they have good support outside of your worship day, Sunday or Wednesday, Sunday or Saturday or Wednesday when we have our mini? You know, I think questions like those are very, very important. You know,
Mm.
so
Yes.
we go back to worship. Do they have a good worship time? Are they faithful instruction? Are they faithful in teaching the scriptures?
Mm.
Fellowship,
Very
do they
important.
offer opportunities for you to fellowship with other believers outside of church time?
Right.
Evangelism, are they encouraging, teaching people how to share the scriptures, share the gospel with others? And social concern, is that church active in the welfare of the members of the congregation and I would say of the community?
Oh, wow. Yes, I see here Althea from Portmore. I go to a Nazarene church. I grew up there, hence I like the doctrine and the principles. I am now there for 47 years. She is a very faithful person. Althea, you're faithful bud. That is so good. That is so good. Thanks for writing us, Althea. That's really amazing. And, for churches being around that long too, because there's also the little man church that
Yeah,
not a lot of people go to, and also there's the home church,
right,
not actually the church that is your home church, but an actual church in a home,
right.
and that seems to be growing back again.
Yes, yes. Most definitely so.
Yeah, because I think also because of the fellowship, because people, as you talk about the fellowship and having children, and they just want to create more of a family setting. Now, I want to ask this question. Is there a perfect home church?
Is there a perfect home church?
Yes. You're like, what's she asking me?
Yeah, it's one member in that church, it's me. There's no perfect home
Pet
church.
worship.
Yeah, there's no
Right.
perfect home church. And
Yeah.
when I was at JTS, we had a saying that says when you find the perfect home church, we're talking about human perfect now. When you find the humanly perfect home church, don't go there because you will spoil it.
That's very true. That is very, very true. So, all right, folks, there are no perfect churches out there. So stick. Sometimes you have to stick with the ones you have and persevere. Persevere. Perseverance is a part of the Bible, and
Most definitely
sometimes we
so.
just do not want to do that. Okay, so since we know that there are no perfect home churches, then what type of church should you not go to?
Well, again, I've been teaching at JTS since 1984. It's
Right.
1994. I've been teaching there since 1994. I'm seeing a break coming up, and I'm doing a cut the story, So
I'm going to cut your story soon. But
yeah,
yes, but we have a minute close to break, but it sounds like you have a good story. So all right, let me go to break. So then after we can come back and get into that good story, David. So as David said, we are heading into our final break, and this is Family Time live on Love 101 FM, YouTube, and Facebook. It's produced by Family Life Ministries for a social media interaction. We want you to tell us why you worship, where you worship. Let us know via WhatsApp text and voice notes no longer than 30 seconds. to 876-997-3125 on the Love 101 Facebook page, the Love 101 YouTube channel, or call the studio lines 876-968-8327 to 8 to participate. We're also on Facebook and YouTube Live. Hi, Facebook and YouTube folks. We want to hear from you. Don't go away. This evening, we are talking about why we worship, where we worship with adjunct lecturer at Jamaica Theological Seminary, David Pearson. Stick around, there's more.
What is meant by sanctification and consecration? Did you think they were the same thing? Well, here's a hint. Consecration is not sanctification. Then what is it and what makes them different? Tuesday, January 24 on The Rock, join host Bishop Hero Steve Blair and guests Apostle O'Neill Richards and Pastor Luke Smith as they discuss the topic sanctification and consecration. That's The Rock, Tuesday, January 24 at 10 a.m. here on the family station, Love 101.
NIS pensioners' completed life certificates are to be submitted to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security once every 4 months. Check the return date on your life certificates and submit before the due date. For further information, contact the National Insurance Scheme at 876-922-8000-14 or visit the ministry's website. The National Insurance Scheme, always working for you. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Welcome back. It is 6:16 in Kingston, Jamaica. You're tuned to Love 101. This is Family Time, brought to you by Family Life Ministries, FLM. FLM provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. Listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of this program. Remember, we're on Facebook and YouTube Live, so tune into the program via the Love 101 Facebook page and YouTube channel. The topic today is why we worship, where we worship, with adjunct lecturer at JTS, David Pearson. And David was about to tell us a good story. So yes, David, we're ready.
It's a sad story. I don't know if it's
no,
good.
it's a sad story.
I was teaching a class some years ago, Christian education. And one of the things we were looking at is how do we evaluate the strength of a church? Right. And we had an instrument that measured the churches, each individual church's performance along 4 areas. Okay, I get into these 4 areas now. Right. And what we said is that most churches function well in 2 areas. A really healthy church functions well in 3 of the 4 areas. It's the very, very, very few churches in the world that functions well in all 4 areas. So we're aiming for 3, at least 2 of the 4 areas. Okay. And as we did the survey in the class, one of my students looked very despondent, and I asked her about it. And when she showed me her survey, this was all done by her. I wasn't the one who did it. Okay. Her church did badly in all 4 areas. In fact, in some of the areas they scored 0. Like 3 of the areas they scored 0. We're looking for 25 on each area, and 3 of the areas they scored 0, and the 4th area they scored like something like 8 or 10 out of 25, which is 8 out of 10 out of much 25 is what we're looking for. And she said to me, "What do I do now, sir?" We don't tell people what churches to choose. I said to her, "What is it that you think you should do with this? Why not go to your pastor?" I'm asking, can you go to your pastor and talk with him about what it is that you're finding out? She said she couldn't do it. She couldn't go to him because he wasn't accommodative. And I think those are classic signs of the types of churches that we should not be a part of. Yes. You know, churches that are not biblical in their operation, 1, and then 2, where we have leaders who don't. I don't want to say dissent, because it's not dissent. They won't even tolerate someone raising questions because they take it as a threat. that you are trying to, in some way, shape, or form, to show them up.
Yes.
So these are
Yes.
churches
Yes.
that, if a church is like that, then I would suggest that you perhaps should at least seek counseling. Go to Family Life Ministries, ask
Yeah.
so to help you
Yes.
on an issue like that. Maybe it is that you're incorrect enough, because we are fallible creatures, so our understanding could be skewed
Right.
by a few experiences. We need someone to help us through some of these difficult conversations.
Right. Oh, that is difficult. That it is difficult.
Yeah.
So, I, but that may even lead to some church hopping going on, because I don't know if I would want to stay at a church where they're not doing what I believe that they're supposed to do. They're not aligned. And sometimes there are seasons in a church where they're doing well when you go there. And then after a while, things don't seem to be the same. But also, you said, I could be the problem.
Right. Most definitely.
Most definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
So the thing is now, though, what would you say to church hoppers?
Well, again, look at yourself. Why are you hopping church? Why are you going from church to church? Some people, and I use my words carefully, some people hop from church to church because they don't want to be accountable to anybody. So once somebody starts to get close to them, they feel like it's just a threat to their freedom, and they're gone. Okay. Other people might be church hopping because they're really not finding the perfect church. Whenever they see a problem, they think that this is,
even though there's none, right? You told us there is no perfect church.
No perfect church like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you would have to look at your own reasons for hopping from church to church. What are those reasons? And again, I would suggest to you, if you can't come up with some good reasons as to why you're jumping from church to church, then you need to sit down with somebody, talk with somebody who you can trust and who can help you to see some perspectives as to what it is that are your motivations. Actually, I think church attendance is good. I think church attendance is necessary.
Right.
I think it is absolutely necessary that we are accountable to somebody who we can trust, who will say to us, hey, watch this or watch that, and we get that. We are obedient to scriptures. Do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together as a man of some is, especially as you say the day approaching. Hebrews 10:25, right?
It's true. No, you had touched on the COVID issue before, and I want to go back there because church has changed.
Right.
I know I am one who probably I'm on YouTube watching church more than I'm actually going to church. I'm trying to go on communion Sundays. But what are the dynamics with that too? Because you're saying do not forsake the assembly of believers, because I'm quite happy when they write in the chat and say an amen and a hallelujah, but is that enough?
Well, guess what? We have had churches functioning online for years before COVID.
Right.
We have some churches that are totally online. And we have seen some tremendous benefits of coming out of Zoom land, if you can call it that,
Zoom land, yes.
We are connecting with believers brothers and sisters and friends that we haven't seen for years. We are connecting with them. Some churches, they have actually seen an uptake in their offering, and they can do more because people from sending money from all over the world now. There are definite positives that many churches have experienced with COVID.
Right.
And I think what we have come to realize is that there are some elements of our church life that have come on stream in the last 2 years that we would be stupid to give up on them very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. However, one of the things that we need to do is find ways of connecting with people outside of those online meetings.
Right.
Okay. With technology, it's a little bit easier. WhatsApp.
Voice calls.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if anything can replace a face-to-face, However, we can, and there's even now what we're seeing, the explosion of online counseling. Okay, so there are a number of things that the church leaders, the church as a body can do to maintain contact with people and not just leave them out there in Zoom land. You know? So I think that's what we need to do and not just dismiss it altogether. Surely if we can come back together, that would be great. You know, some churches are struggling, especially with our young people. What is it is what it is doing is that it's forcing us to think outside of the box in approaching our young people, because they are not going to come back easily to the same old, same old.
Yes, and we certainly have the ability right now to be more creative, and we do serve a creative God, so we need to be able to come up with ways to reach out to groups, especially like the youth, who would be not wanting to even come to church, because there are different ways to actually get them, even with Zoom, because I'm seeing how like games Zoom updated and they have games and just different things, and there are different things that churches can do, like church center, their apps. So we need pastors and church leaders to be actually thinking about how we worship
Right.
in a different way now, because we are global, as you said, and we need to take this opportunity. I know I have had people I worked with in Pakistan and Iran connecting on Zoom with my church in Swallowfield Chapel before. Before that would never have really happened, but now it's just a click away. So it's amazing. So David, I just want you to encourage people and just wrap up for me. What do you think that people should do about going to church, and their thoughts about actually not forsaking the assembly and gathering together?
Okay. In the first place, coming to church is not coming to Christ. That's the first thing. Okay. There are some people who are seeking Christ, and what they end up doing is that they believe that they find him in a church.
Right.
The churches cannot contain Christ. All right? You find Christ. However, having found Christ, you need to connect with a local church that will help to nurture you. Okay?
Yes.
Help to nurture, help to disciple you. So I would suggest that you try to find a church that is going to teach you the scriptures, that's instruction.
That's important.
It's going to help you to understand this concept of worship, that is ascribing worth to a being greater than you are, to whom you are accountable. Okay, that's why we sing to him. That's why it's not that he gets some kind of an ego boost by us singing to him, but it's us understanding that there is somebody that we're accountable.
Right.
Group that offers us the opportunity to help each other, that's fellowship. A group that offers us opportunities and require for us to share the gospel with others, that's all we call evangelism. And one that helps us to realize that God has gifted us with not only our spiritual gifts but our material gifts to help us to care for each other. So we're going to become people who are kind-hearted. Churches that encourage us to share our resources with each other and people in the community, especially those who need it.
Wonderful.
Seek out churches like that and don't give up on them. Okay?
Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much. Now everyone knows, go to church. Go to church. And David gave us some good examples, and so thank you so much, David. Thank you. And thanks for being here with us. If you have questions of a personal nature or are concerned about a friend or family member, call us at Family Life Ministries for our center in Portmore at 117 Cecile Avenue. Call 876-939-7917. For more information on our services or for our counselors in Kingston and other parts of the island, contact our head office at 876-920-1034 or 876-926-8101. Note that appointments can only be made by calling the offices. Otherwise, to keep up to date with what's happening with FLM and our programs, find us on Facebook at FLM Family Life Ministries and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Family Life Ministries FLMJA. Before we leave you, here is this evening's Bible verse from 1 Peter 2:5. You also, as living stones, are being built up in a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. Join us again next week at 5:30 p.m. on Love 101 FM, Facebook, and YouTube Live via the Love 101 Facebook page and Love 101 YouTube channel for another informative program. Thanks again to our special guest, David Pearson. Thanks also to our show producer, Kathy Gale, Open Door Communications, studio facilitator, Timoy Butler, and of course, you. Stay well, stay safe, stay blessed. I'm Nicola. Bye.